Continuing with our discussion about Latin American society and culture, I have with me today Professor Maria Caridad Marchand. She's from Peru, and she teaches courses on Spanish language and literature, and so I thought I'd have her come today and tell us a little bit about Peruvian culture. Thank you for joining me, Professor Marchand.
No, thank you for letting me be here.
So, you're from Peru. Tell us a little bit about how you might characterize Peruvian culture and society. What are some distinctive characteristics?
Well, the point of Peru is a mixture culture. I think more than any other country in Latin America because in Peru we have migration from Africa, from China, from Japan, from German, from Italy, from French. Big immigrations in different times. Then we are a mixed culture, and proof of that is our food. And now it's well known in the world because it's distinctive, it's different because that thing, and that happened with the whole thing about culture, the people, how we do something or how we believe in things. And I don't believe that we are completely different in other countries in Latin America, but we have some kind of unique kind of thing in culture.
So speaking of food, though, food is a big part of society and culture. What is it that's distinctive about Peruvian food that would distinguish it from its neighbors, perhaps?
Oh, and that's what I know pretty well. What happened in food in Peru is that we have a mixture of the French cuisine with the Indian cuisine and a little bit of the Chinese cuisine and Japanese cuisine, and of course German and Italy. The Italy cuisine is a big one too, but at the end, it's a big mix thing
it's
about.
Kind of a fusion of different cultures and societies together in Peru.
Exactly, and that's why it's very distinctive. And I've been in Chile, I've been in Argentina, in Uruguay, been in Mexico, and I see it's different. It's different. Each place has their own food, but what we have is a more, different ways to season a food and to put it together than any other place. Like being in Chile, and I have many friends in Chile. The main thing was when they found out pretty quickly that I was Peruvian. I said, "Oh, you are from Peru. Oh, your food. Yeah, you have a really good food."
And the Peruvians are known for their food.
For the food, yeah, that was the thing.
Well, since you mentioned other neighbors or other Latin American cultures and societies, tell us what you think about whether there is such a thing as Latin American culture and society. Do people in Peru, for example, see themselves first as Peruvians and second as Latin Americans? I mean, is there any such thing? Are there common characteristics that bind people together within the region of Latin America?
Well, there are, and it's something that I usually teach in my classes. We have many things that are common in the whole Latin America countries because the way that Latin American countries were made was from a religious base. Catholic religious base. Then they mixture with all the indigenous religions and different ideas from different other communities that were coming. In some places are a little bit different, but we have one base. Like something about the base, and talking about food, I can say about the rice pudding. Rice pudding is something that all Latin American countries have. A little bit different, each one, like one is really heavy or it's light, but it's almost the same because it's coming from Spain. And Spain has it from the Arabic people, the rice pudding. We have all Latin American countries have rice pudding. And if you talk with somebody about rice pudding, everybody says, "Oh yeah, rice pudding, oh, arroz con leche, That way you love because everybody knows that. But if I'm talking about ceviche, the ceviche could be different in Mexico, completely different than the ceviche that we have in Peru, because the mixture that we have. So we have a base that we can say, okay, we are the same, but at the same time, we are not the same. And this is not just with food, but as an example, how we can say the Latinos, we are Latinos, but at the same time, we are different. Yeah.
So you teach the Spanish language, and so most Latin American countries speak Spanish, with the exception of Brazil, which speaks Portuguese. Is this one characteristic of culture and society that really binds Latin Americans together, the language, and how might it differ from one country to another? I mean, you can tell where somebody comes from in Latin America by listening to how they speak Spanish, correct? But it's at the same time, there's a standard Spanish that most everyone speaks and understands. How does that bring people together, the language?
Well, it's an interesting question because we can say bring us together, but at the same time we separate us because, like in the big places, in the time that the Congress came to America, Mexico, Peru, there were people speaking another languages and were different. And to have the Spanish, in one way is like, okay, that's just what we speak. Everybody speaks Spanish. But at the same time, we are not able to speak the other language. Like in Peru, we have Quechua, like a language from the Indians. But it's not one Quechua. There are many Quechuas. And in my case, when I go to Cusco in Peru, and I try to speak with people, native people from Cusco, they speak in ways, the Spanish in ways that I could be sometimes don't understand it. And because they speak Quechua first, and second language is Spanish, but the whole official language is Spanish, and this is something that I would say, and they don't bring us together. And they see me like, oh, you are the foreigner because you speak the Spanish pretty well, and you don't understand me, the Quechua. But on the other hand, all Latin American people from when I came in the United States, I came to Indiana, in a place that a lot of people from Latin America meet together. And we meet together because we speak Spanish, and you find somebody, oh, yeah, you speak Spanish, yeah. And you hear something, how they speak English, and they, do you speak Spanish? Yeah, oh, yeah, where are you from? You're from here, or there. And then, oh, you need to come to my home, whatever. Then we start making group. It's both sides.
So the connectivity perhaps is strongest when you're outside of the region than when you're inside
That's
the region.
Pretty true, yeah.
So one last thing, has there been a significant amount of influence from other countries? I mean, you mentioned the various immigrants and those that are from Peru and that influence Peruvian culture and particularly food. But throughout Latin America, would you say that there is more and more European influence, U.S. influence of others? I mean, in this era of globalization, where you have free-flowing ideas and cultural cultural characteristics that really transcend borders, would you say that that Latin America is becoming more homogenous, maybe, or do you see that people are resistant to that sort of pressure from the outside?
No, I was thinking that it's more the first case. That people are getting more and more about different other countries, of course. I believe in case of Peru, more from the United States. Peru, and in the case Lima, the capital, is a case because people from Lima speak a lot of English word. Like I said, when I came here more than 15 years ago, I was with my Chilean friends, and I say to my children, no pises el gras, don't step on the grass. But I say grass. I didn't say the word for grass in Spanish, because that's what we used to say in Lima. And my friends say, oh, you are so funny, you speak English and Spanish. I say, what? No, I'm speaking Spanish. And of course, I was thinking the grass, I put it like Spanish. And now, when I go to Peru, I feel that more people are speaking more English words than Spanish. I combine it, that I feel like, we are worse now, that we don't keep it the language that it should be. But I believe because the influence of all the TV shows and all the programs, everything that is people connecting more each other with other cultures, other countries, and it's not just United States, but I see big influence in the United States, but there are others around. But at the end, I want to say something. This connection is not bad. Always brings sometimes something bad, but I remember when we started having the globalization in the 90s, we were watching programs from Brazil because that was something that we never did before in my life. And they were really nice programs in Brazil. We were watching them because that was something that I started having in that moment. We were watching most programs from Uruguay. I remember that time that, of course, they were having, but we have not that connection until that moment. And I believe now it's more about the world, not just Latin America. I believe that is good, but sometimes maybe no. But it's always, we have always the good and bad, and all this stuff. Yes.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, you're welcome.
So students, as we were talking before about putting on those lenses and seeing the world as a Latin American in our previous segment, this time put your lenses on, think about the world as being a Latin American, somebody who's from Latin America, somebody from Peru, for example. But think about the impact of globalization and the influx of other ideas, cultures, and societal characteristics that might have an influence on where you live. What would your reaction be? Let us know.